welcome back to Michelle Reads and Vlogs, and today we are looking at my October wrap up. I am going to put these down because they are extremely heavy. Before we start, I read a lot of books in October, which is not a bad thing in general, just I can't hold them all because they're too heavy. So let's get straight into what has been my best reading month so far this year. I read a total of 12 books this month. 9 of those were physical books, 2 were audiobooks, 1 was an ebook. Out of all of those, I had 1 reread and I read 1 graphic novel. In terms of ratings, I read 4 5-star books this month, 3 4-star books and 5 3-star books. And over all of these books, I read a total of 4,207 pages. First up, we have The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This was a 5-star read and was one of my most anticipated book releases of this autumn. I did do a reading vlog for this, which I will link up above. So this is following our characters from the first Shades of Magic trilogy and some new characters in the same Shades of Magic world, where there are 4 Londons: red, grey, white and black, and each of them have varying amounts of magic. So as I said, we pick up with some of our beloved characters from the original trilogy, and we've got a couple of new characters as well. We've got this young girl, Tez, who's great at fixing things. She can see the threads of magic like Alucard can, but the difference is she can also touch them and move them and mend things in that way. We also have Kosika, who is the new child Antari queen on the throne of White London. But the main plot of the story is that Lila is asked to recall a favour to find a missing object. That missing object is very powerful and could bring a lot of damage to these worlds. So we are on a quest to find it and make sure it is not in the hands of the wrong people. I gave this book a 5-star rating. It was really enjoyable. Forget the marketing for this that says, oh, you can read this first and then go back and read the Shades of Magic trilogy. No, don't do that. Read Shades of Magic first if you've not, then go on to this, or else you're not going to have the depth of love for these characters. I thought this book would focus more on the new characters and the old characters would almost just be there. But it's not. It is a continuation of our old characters. I think the new characters will maybe come into it more in the next 2 books in this trilogy. Despite its flaws, I really enjoyed this, would 100% recommend. I then read A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This is also a fantasy. This one I got in, I think it was a Lumicrate? Yeah, it was a September Illumicrate book. I really enjoyed this as well. I gave it 4 stars. So this is young adult. We have got a young girl called Effie. She is an architecture student. She enters a competition to help redesign the house of her beloved favourite author who passed away, I think it was about a year before. So she goes to this house and she's not the only one there. At the same time, there is a literature student. I think he was called Preston. He is trying to find evidence to prove that this author was actually a fraud. It's almost enemies to lovers, so they're very against each other at the beginning because obviously she loves this author. He is trying to prove that he didn't write the famous work. This book, I don't think it's meant to be horror, but it's got some creepy vibes in it. I would say it gave me all the vibes I was looking for in October. There were some moments that I was a little bit, I don't want to use the words tense or scared, but yeah, I was. I'm a bit of a wuss. I don't really like a lot of horror. I don't do horror films, but I did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars. I read Dead Woman Walking by Sharon Bolton. This is the 2nd Sharon Bolton book I've ever read. This is a thriller where there is a group of people, mostly strangers, but in small groups. They know each other on a hot air balloon. They witness a crime. The person carrying out this crime then uses his shotgun to kill the pilot of the balloon. It ends up that everyone On this balloon dies all of the passengers except for one person who is our main character. I've forgotten her name, so I'm just going to have a quick look. It doesn't say in the blurb. Anyway, not important. So the one woman left and she starts running. And not only from the person who's trying to hunt her down and murder her, because he's seen her face, she's seen his, but she runs from the police as well. So what I love about Sharon Bolton with this and the other one of her books I've read is that you get this tense kind of situation happen at the beginning, and then the rest of the book is almost uncovering the backstory to what happens. Like, there's more to it. What are we going to figure out? And it's just so well written. I think Sharon Bolton is one of those authors that I don't hear a lot about on BookTube, but I really enjoy her work. I gave this 4 stars. I was gripped. Again, all the October vibes that I needed. Okay, All the Dead Lie Down by Kyrie McCauley. I'm not sure if this is a YA. It was a book that I got in the Locked Library subscription box. The sprayed edge on this is gorgeous. And at first I was reading this and I was like, this isn't really a book for me. As I've already mentioned, I'm not really a huge horror fan. But we've got this young girl. She moves to this house to basically au pair for these 2 young girls, and everything is a bit creepy. The girls are a bit creepy. They're pulling pranks on her to try and get her to leave. We uncover more. The older sister comes home from university. They become friends, and we uncover a lot more here. Again, as I said, I don't really like scary things, but this was kind of borderline for me. I think because it was YA, I was okay with the creepiness, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily horror maybe per se, but there were some moments in here that were definitely kind of horror vibes, and I really enjoyed it. I was all for it. So I did give this 3 stars. I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone to go out of their way and read it for themselves. I wouldn't read it again. But as a one-off, it was good. It was good. And that's for my star ratings. 3 star is a good, 4 star is kind of a very good, and a 5 star is absolutely amazing. I would read this book again and recommend it. So 3 stars for me is good. As I said, I enjoyed it, but I don't know whether I would recommend you go out of your way to spend your time on this. Next up, we have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. And again, this is almost a what happened in the past whodunit. It's a bit of a thriller. It's a bit of uncovering what had taken place whilst these 6 friends were at university and one of them died, one of the friendship group. We're never 100% sure what was happened. Nobody was committed of this murder. I think it's 10 years later, they go back for their college reunion, or university, because obviously the UK we call it university. So they go back for this college reunion, and the brother of the murdered student is trying to reopen what happened because he knows there's a lot of people here keeping secrets, and he wants to find out what happened to his sister. So with this one, I did give it 3 stars. It was okay, but I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed that unearthing aspect of what happened and how they went about that and how the story was kind of written. But I didn't like any of the characters. I thought the characters were all terrible people. And I think if you either don't like the characters or you can't empathise with them, it struggles to get you into the story. So I couldn't put myself in the shoes of these characters, and at the same time, I didn't particularly like any of them. The main character, Jessica Miller, she starts by wanting to go back to this reunion and basically to wow people. She wants to have people's opinions of her be really positive and to forget everything that happened in the past. And, you know, she wants to be seen as successful. She's got this drive to be successful at any cost. And again, that's not me. I can't empathise with that kind of character. So I did struggle with this one. But as I said, I enjoyed the story and finding out what happened. I would definitely read another book of Ashley Winstead and give her another go. But it was just a 3 star for me. I didn't get the hype. I then listened to Morning Star on audiobook. So this is the third book in the Red Rising trilogy by Pierce Brown. It's difficult to talk about this book as a standalone. We have to talk about the beginning of the synopsis of the first story. So we're in this world where there is a colour caste system where reds are at the very bottom and golds are at the very top. There's loads of different colours in between. It's set in the future where humans have evolved in different ways so that they are basically good for doing different jobs. So the reds are the miners. They're very skilled at mining. They're very strong. They live underground, and that's what their bodies have become adapted to. You've got the pinks who are in the entertainment industry, the blues who are the kind of electronics. They're very smart, they're they almost plug into the computer systems, and that's what they do. The golds are basically the leadership at the top. They're very intelligent and can lead. Darrow has lived his life as a red underground, being told that they are mining for this substance that will change the universe. Humanity will die out without them mining for this fuel substance, helium-3. And he learns that it's all a lie. His people are being kept in slavery. And the whole point of the series is that there's a revolution where certain people are trying to get rid of the way this world is. In my opinion, book 3 is the best one so far. I gave it 5 stars. I think in the first 2 books, there are so many characters and so much happening that I almost struggled to keep up. Whereas book 3, I felt like I knew who everyone was. I felt like the pacing between action and slower scenes was really good. I'm still listening to it all on audio, so I'm still listening to the narrator, who is brilliant, and I just generally really enjoyed this audio experience. I haven't started book 4 yet. It is quite long in terms of the audio length. It's over 30 hours, I think. So that's going to definitely be on my TBR for next month, but really enjoyed it. 5 stars, 100% would recommend the audio, and I'm going to carry on with the series. Masters of Death by Olivie Blake. This is one of the books that I read in my Google tells me how long I should read for today video. This has obviously been hyped up all over the place. Olivie Blake is very popular at the moment, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to give this a go on my October spooky vibes TBR. This book is like nothing I've ever read. I enjoyed it to a point. I did give it 3 stars. I appreciate the artistic nature of this book. I think Olivie Blake, to think of this, her mind must be brilliant, but I wouldn't say I overly enjoyed where the plot went. The plot synopsis is that we have got a woman who happens to be a vampire who is an estate agent, so she is trying to sell this big old house, but there is a ghost in the house that won't go because he doesn't know he was murdered in the house. He doesn't know how he was murdered, and he doesn't want to move on until he finds that out. So she needs to find out how he was murdered so she can get rid of him because he's annoying all the potential buyers and putting them off so that she can sell the house. So she gets in touch with a medium who is the godson of death. And she gets him in to try and sort out this issue with the ghost. But it turns out he's a fraud. He's actually not a medium. It's just because he's Death's godson that he can talk to Death and find out about people and what happened to them. There are loads of other characters in this who are different creatures, angels, werewolves, all sorts. It was really good, really quirky, but that synopsis is just the tip of the iceberg to where this book goes. I definitely think if you're intrigued, give it a read. As I said, so different. I could not tell you if you're going to love this or hate this. I think it's going to be Marmite. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. It wasn't for me, but it was okay. And I appreciate how good the ideas were, the creativity. Also, as a part of my Google Tells Me How Long to Read For Today vlog, I listened to Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So this was one where I did listen to the audiobook, but I read along as well because I own the physical copy of the book. Again, this wasn't for me. I gave it 3 stars. We've got 2 old friends. The one is a sound technician or a sound editor for film. The other one is an actor. They're kind of in their 40s. They're moving on with life. They're both struggling a little bit in their, I would say personal lives, but yeah, kind of their personal lives and their careers. The chap, the actor, moves into a new apartment block, and one of his new neighbours is an old editor of or producer of horror films. They make friends with him, and he encourages them to help him to finish a film that was never completed, and they do, and then spooky things start to happen. I listened to this on audio and it just wasn't for me. I didn't get into it. That vlog was a really hard vlog because Google told me to read for 8 hours. I was reading these 2 books and they were just both okay. I gave them both 3 stars, but neither of them gripped me. They were both hard work. I wouldn't recommend this unless you've seen it around, you've heard other people talk about it and you're intrigued. Give it a go, but personally not for me. I will give more of Silvia Moreno-Garcia a read though, as I think she's got some slightly different genres, and this was the first one of theirs that I read. I did like the setting. Mexico in kind of like the 90s was really good, so yeah, I would give her a go again, but this one not for me. I then read an ebook which was Off the Charts Chemistry by Christine Mills. I gave this a 3-star as well. So this is about a woman who is a chemistry teacher set in a small kind of town in America. There is a new high school football coach and basically they fall for one another. I read this as an arc basically to do a review. I really enjoyed the basics of the story and some of the writing was brilliant, but some of it wasn't. Some of it was written almost what I would have written for my creative writing in my GCSE English, and I was not that good at creative writing in GCSE English. I also thought some of the plot was a bit weak, but the story overall has massive potential. I really hope, I think this is the first in a series, I will read more from her, and I hope those issues get sorted a bit because the potential there is brilliant. The basic story, some of the writing, absolutely amazing. I want to read more from her. I just hope that some of those plot points are almost cleared up. If she had a really good editor to almost pull it apart and piece it back together again, I think that it would do wonders. As it is, I gave it 3 stars, but would have the potential to do much better. I did a reread of Fourth Wing this month by Rebecca Yarros because Iron Flame is coming out next month. I did this for a reading vlog, which I will put up. So I did reread Fourth Wing so that you don't have to, just to kind of recap a lot of the key plot points. And I'm glad I did because there was loads in this I misremembered and a lot of things that I think I just genuinely didn't pick up with on the first time of reading this. So I did give it 5 stars again on my reread. If you're one of the few people in the world who hasn't read Fourth Wing, it is about dragon riders in a college where they're learning to ride dragons. They enter the college, they have to do a series of basically different skills and assessments to make sure that they are the type of person who can ride a dragon and that they are strong enough, and then they get to bond dragons or potentially bond with a dragon and learn to ride them. There's also enemies to lovers in this. It's electric, electric, literally. Rebecca Yarros is a romance author. This was her first go at fantasy. So there are some weaknesses in the world building, which I talk about more in the vlog. Overall, I just really enjoyed it. By the end of that vlog, I can't stop smiling. I can't stop smiling now thinking about it. And we've got Iron Flame out in a week's time. I cannot wait. So I gave this 5 stars and I'm ready for Iron Flame to be released. I read another of my most anticipated books for this autumn, which was The Wakeup Call by Beth O'Leary. So this is set in a hotel. We've got 2 receptionists and again, enemies to lovers. They start with hating each other. They dislike each other so much. And then they find these rings in lost property and they decide that they need to reunite these rings with their original owners. The hotel's not doing very great at the moment, so any kind of publicity, any financial rewards they can get, they're selling a lot of the lost property to try and get some money to keep the hotel going, which in return will keep them in their jobs, which, you know, the hotel is like their family, so it's going to keep them there and keep their lives intact. And throughout the book, the 2 of them get closer together, but for a misunderstanding from the past, they're kept from not getting too close. Will they get together in the end or won't they? Who knows? Along the way, will they save the hotel? We meet all of these other characters. This is not quite a romance. It's almost like a fade to black. Very cozy, comfy read. It was really enjoyable. I actually breezed through this. I found it so easy to get into. I love Beth O'Leary. She is great if you want something light and fluffy. I gave this 4 stars. Would definitely recommend. The final book I read this month was the first edition of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. This is the first in the Spy Family graphic novel manga series. I opened this on my huge book haul video and everyone was like, yeah, you'll love it, get into it. So I'm not a huge graphic novel manga person. You'll have seen that I've never talked about one on my channel before. And generally when booktubers do talk about them, I almost switch off a little bit. I'm like, they're not really for me. But this one, when people talk about, I've always been intrigued. So it is about a man who is a spy, who is given a mission where he needs to go undercover and basically needs a family to do so. He adopts a young girl without knowing in this book that she is a telepath. So she can read all of his thoughts, which is amazing, but he doesn't know yet, which is great. He also gets a wife. She, without him knowing, is an assassin, which is why they're called Spy Family. People were like, oh, it's so cute, you'll love it. And I was like, how can it be cute if it's about spies? It is so cute. So I have already put the second one on my Amazon wish list, which I think I might have to purchase soon. It was brilliant. I gave this 5 stars. I was addicted. I read it cover to cover. So those were the 12 books that I read this month. Please tell me if you've read any of these. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who mentioned in the comments about, you should definitely read this book or you should definitely read that book, because it was a big reading month for me, but I've read some such good books. I read 4 5-star books this month, which is brilliant, and some really good 4 stars. So I had a great reading month. I really enjoyed myself. I'm happy. I'm going to be honest, I've thought of a couple of books I want to read in November for my TBR, but I'm not fully convinced yet. I'm going to have a really good think. What I do know is that moving forwards, I'm not going to settle for mediocre. Life is too short. I really struggled in that vlog reading these 2 just okay reads. I don't want to read books that are just okay. I want to read books that excite me and I want to read cover to cover. Like I said, I've had a brilliant end of the month, especially with Fourth Wing, The Wake Up Call and Spy Family. I had a brilliant beginning of the month as well, and the middle was just a bit meh. So for next month, I definitely want to rectify that. I want to be excited by my reading. Anyway, if you got to this point, thank you very much. Please like the video. If you've watched to here, you clearly like it, and it really helps me and the channel out if you do so. If you're not subscribed and you want to, I put out loads of bookish content throughout the month. I do lots of unboxings and other bookish things. So if you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe. If you do fancy buying any of these books, I'm going to pop affiliate links for them down in the description below. So they cost you the same amount of money, but I get a small commission off basically putting the order your way or into the company's way. So anyway, affiliate links will be down below, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.